The next question I want to ask you guys, again, is open. We are pressed for time, but we're going to be smooth and quick with it. What is the biggest lesson, right, that fatherhood has taught you? You know that thing that caught you off guard, right? I'll start with you.
Yeah, the biggest lesson.
The biggest lesson.
Patience. Extreme patience. Like patience beyond.
Give us a scenario. Let's get a story.
A typical scenario could be you've spent the whole day cleaning the house. I know you know what I'm talking about. And you're really proud of your work. Your kids are playing. You managed to sort them out. They're bathed and doing whatever. And it can be as quick as the swing of a door. And it swings out and it's a mess, a complete mess. And they've done something in there. And you just look in there and you're like, I just cleaned this like 5 seconds ago. And you've managed to smear jelly all over the wall. And where did you get the jelly from? It's things like that where it's kind of just make you really think. And it's the patience, and you can't flip out at your kids because they're being kids. And to be honest, they've got to have that freedom to feel like they're free to do whatever they want, even though it's a bad world out there. You're trying to temper that with being a child, having the freedom of a child, having that reckless abandon of a child that somehow gets chipped away at you when you get older. So as a father, we now are in a unique space where we have to ride that line between disciplinarian, i.e. the old school, go get the belt, which I don't endorse, by the way, and just kind of taking care of your child's well-being and mental health, because it's the early years where they can kind of progress from and have flashbacks to a time when you might have flipped out at them, and that's not really good. Yeah. So I've found the biggest lesson is patience, and patience with their development.
You have 2 little girls. What did you learn?
It was more about me, and I think I learned to grow up and be mature as a man. If I'm being totally honest, when my first daughter was born, and she kind of looked up at me, and it was just a mad pregnancy anyway. The birth came out, it was emergency cesarean, and my wife was gone else somewhere else, and they just placed the baby in my arms, and she looked up at me, and then it just dawned on me that this young person right here is going to be dependent on you for everything, to provide her with everything, and you've got to be her king. And for me, it was like, you know what, I've got to take life a bit more serious. I've got to take things, I can't run around as I used to, because this little life here is going to depend on me. So I think it made me mature more into a man. I would definitely say, before my child, if I'm being honest, I was immature. I was very much immature, and having a child really matured me as a man, and just made me look at things a bit differently. So I would look at it and that's what having children have almost done for me. Not necessarily how it's made me feel, but that's what it's done.
Yeah, cool. What about you, sir?
Me, wow, because I'm Nigerian, so I was born in 1991, Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I used to think, because going from how I was raised, I used to think that, you know what, I'm going to be such a manager like my parents, like my dad. When I have kids, they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that. As soon as they get in trouble, they're going to face the wall, raise their hand, leg up. I thought, yes, that's how I'm going to be. But
so really, being African, because we did that too.
Yeah.
Oh, these ones here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, these are the type of discipline I'm going to give to my kids. And I just realized that I'm not that kind of parent. I'm the type of parent that's like, I turn into Oprah, like, how does that make you feel? Yeah, I'm not that kind of parent, so I just thought, you know what, I'm totally opposite to what I thought I was going to be. And then, because I've got a boy and a girl, there's certain ways that you can move your son. Because your son, you tell him one thing, he's like, yeah. When it comes to my daughter now, she wants you to explain, but why? And then you got to be like, okay, well, it's because of this and that. She's like, okay, but can you explain it a bit more? So he's like, okay. So you got to basically gauge the dynamics between a boy and a girl. And then when your girl, when she's hurt, then you got to be like, extra emotional. It's like,
Extra available.
yes.
And that is not the Nigerian way.
No, not at all. So you just can't be that militant. I just realised that when it comes to my kids, I can't be that aggressive father, that militant one, because I don't like them being upset or things not being resolved. So I just feel as if you've got to find out the deep meaning of why they're feeling the way, why they act the way that they do, and then you've got to basically try and show them the way, a better way. And I just felt that through healthy dialogue, through basically keeping their emotions in check, ensuring that you don't escalate anything that they're going through. Because sometimes as parents, we often say that do as we say, this is the way, but we don't actually advise them and basically provide them some emotional intelligence when it comes to moving forward with their lives. And I feel as if they basically, as much as I'm teaching them, they're teaching me as well. And I just felt as if it's like a two-way exchange between me and my kids. When I just thought, back to the day, I just thought as if do this, do that. Children are supposed to listen to you and not talk. But it's just a rude awakening, and that's supposed to be.
Like a good wake up, like reality.
Yes, that's it.
I was watching an episode of Fathers in the Hood once, right? I'm going to relish this moment for a moment. I was watching Fathers in the Hood once, and Tapiwa was sat there with his daughter and his son, and he was asking them all these different questions about their growing up experience. So it got to a point where his son now, well, you asked your son, didn't you, about some of the experiences, him growing up and, where you could have done things differently. And his son did not hold back. He didn't. It's on YouTube, guys. Search it up, Fathers in the Hood. It's good watching. And so I'm sitting there, and I was on his son's side, because I was like, yeah, I would have told my dad that. Yeah. I want to know from you, what did you learn in that moment? Because I know it was challenging. I know listening to your son, your spawn, your little boy, say that to you must have been like, talk us through that.
Well, it was very hard. I didn't know what was gonna come out. I didn't know what either. So my son and my daughter, I'm basically having an interview, because the format of the podcast, I have interviews with different dads. But the first episode was an interview with my son and my daughter. And we just had a very raw, open conversation. And they said whatever they felt, and I wasn't expecting some of the stuff that came out. I was expecting something to come out, but if you notice, we cut off.
Did you tell them to go get the belt?
But they just came out with certain things, and it was kind of therapeutic, and it was, we just dealt with certain things. But he hit me with stuff about kind of how he felt about the dynamic with me and his mother. And I've always been that guy, like I'm always going to take care of my kids. But to the mother, I'm like, you're grown, I don't care about you, you do your own thing. But on reflection, how I'm treating the mother directly affects and reflects how I'm treating the child. But I'm not having that understanding, and I'm not having that maturity. So I've spent 10, 15 years in that kind of behavior pattern, where essentially I'm carrying on what is essentially a very toxic kind of relationship. We were together and broke up and got back together, but all of it, like if I was to reflect now, it was generally all pretty toxic. And when we eventually broke up was because I just got to a point where I was like, the reason I'm trying to, for me personally, and she'll probably tell you a very different version, which is also very interesting because everyone's got their own perception. But if you ask her, she'll give you whatever her version is. But for me, I was like, if our relationship's not working, then the point of my son and my daughter have two different mothers. We'll talk about my son's mom. So it's like, we got to a point where the relationship was just getting so toxic. I was like, the reason, or a major part of the reason I'm trying to be here is that we raise him in a loving, positive environment. If me and you are at each other's necks all the time, it don't make sense. So we separated, but that didn't stop us being at each other's necks. And that didn't stop, we agreed that we would never be negative about each other in his presence, but there'd always be subliminals. And as he grew, he kind of got to learn and to see and to know for himself. So certain things didn't need to be said. He understood my flaws, he understands his mum's flaws. So certain things didn't need to be said. But yeah, when he said that, I started crying, I can't lie. Like I was, even thinking about it now, that I was barring. It was a mess. It was a hot mess. Because it was stuff like, for me, and probably for all of us here, the last thing you want to do is hurt your children. And then when you see that that's exactly what you've done, thank you. So yeah, so that's what was like the hardest thing about it, because I'm like, actually, in my head, I've told myself that actually I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And you know, you have friends and family and people that say, oh, you're a great dad, you're doing good, and you are doing good. But I always say to people, like, it's great that you think I'm a good dad, but the only people that can tell me I'm a good dad is these kids when they grow. Yeah. When they get to 25 or 30 or 35, they can turn around and say, actually, Dad, I appreciate what you did, you tried, or actually, Dad, you flopped. No one else can really, like, it's cool what everyone says, but no one else can really tell me nothing. No one else can say, you know, anything that's of value, with all due respect.
Yeah.
I know people will say, nah, you're doing good and blah, 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 you've done this, you've achieved that, and you managed to, you know, help to get this done, and your children have this that they wouldn't have if you hadn't done it, and all that stuff, and that's all great and that's all good. But when all is said and done, you know, what's their testimony going to be?
That's it. Wow. We said we were going to have a real talk, right? Can we just give a round of applause for that?